Hello, I'm Jack Nichols and welcome to highlights of the 2011 Formula SimRacing World Championship. Round 12 of the championship is the Belgian Grand Prix, taking place on the famous Spa-Francorchamps circuit. A favourite track for many of the drivers, this round will be one that every driver will be striving to win. Qualifying saw Bono Huis take his 5th pole position of the season, edging out Morgan Moran by just 0.04 of a second. Jaakko Mykkänen performed well to qualify in 3rd ahead of Patrick de Wit in 4th. The McCord duo of Dennis Hurl and Mikko Puumalainen made up the 3rd row of the grid, ahead of Dimitri de Matos in 7th and Jim Paresis in 8th. Blair Disley set the 9th fastest time, and Fredrik Nilsson just made it into the top 10. Driving for the brand new team, Scuderia Milano, Yannick Lapchan was start in 12th. To the race start, and with a short run down to the first corner, there were few position changes off the line. Everyone cleanly made it through La Source, except for Heikkinen, who spun but avoided hitting any other cars. Mykkänen had passed Moran for 2nd place, but both Room and Van Dorn had also made strong starts. Despite a bunch field, there were no accidents through the tricky Eau Rouge. Down the Kemmel straight, Jaakko Mykkänen was passed on either side by both Morgan Moran and Patrick de Wit. But into Les Combes, de Wit and Moran made contact, handing Mykkänen back his 2nd position. Just behind, an over-ambitious passing attempt from Nilsson resulting in contact with Room. And as the pair slid across the grass, both Disley and Paresis T-boned the out-of-control cars. Distracted by the carnage, Wesenberg spun and ultimately stalled, though fortunately no other drivers were involved. Nilsson retired with terminal damage, and Paresis, Disley and Room all suffered damage to their cars. Lap 2, and Stoffel Van Dorn was past Dimitri de Matos and up into 7th position. Having qualified only in 16th, the Belgian driver was certainly making an impressive debut at his home Grand Prix. Further ahead, Jaakko Mykkänen had his hands full trying to keep Patrick de Wit behind him, and with the precision driver running very high wings, Mykkänen was easy pickings for de Wit down the Kemmel straight, and on the following lap, Morgan Moran would follow suit, dropping Mykkänen down into 4th. However, a dreadful mistake from de Wit had the Dutchman run wide over a curb and slam his car hard into the Armco. After a promising start, the faster-than-speed driver was out of the race. The battle for 10th place produced some action, with Lee Morris frantically looking for a way around Yannick Lapchan. The two drivers swapped positions several times around the circuit, but Lapchan seemed to have the edge over Morris. Further behind, Martin Gosby's race ended prematurely when the Briton put the power down too quickly out of the source, destroying the front of his Ghost Speed racing car. At the front of the race, a rare mistake from Bono Huis fed the champion into the hands of Morgan Moran, and out of Eau Rouge, the ATR driver used the draft to take over the race lead. Over the following laps, Huis desperately fought to retake his position, but Moran always had an answer, and the two drivers swapped position on several occasions, with Moran seemingly having the upper hand. Just behind, Mykkanen's lack of top speed continued to punish the Finn, losing out to fellow countryman Mikko Puumalainen, and immediately behind, Dennis Hurl eventually succumbed to pressure from Stoffel Van Dorn after an awkward overtake. By now, both Dimitri de Matos and Peter Duivelaar were also on the back of the leading train, and the top 8 positions were separated by just 4 seconds. An incredible moment into Pouan had Moran pass Huis on the inside. Huis switched back to the left-hand side of the track, and the two drivers carried on side by side down the straight into the Fagnes chicane. Mikko Puumalainen was just behind but couldn't find a way around Moran. With the top 4 drivers scrambling for position, things got messy as Van Dorn broke too late for the bus stop chicane and collided with Mykkänen, spinning the precision car and dropping him down into 8th place. Puumalainen then misread Moran's entry into La Source and drove over his back wheel, dropping him behind Van Dorn. Dennis Hurl was the first to pit, with Mikko Puumalainen, de Matos and Duivelaar following in a lap later. Van Dorn was consequently leaped by both of the McCord drivers, and then de Matos on his outlap, dropping him down into 6th. Sadly, Yannick Lapchan's race ended with the Frenchman stalling in his pit box, and after suffering from throttle problems from the start of the race, Mohamed Patel called it quits after his first stint. Meanwhile, the epic battle over first place showed no signs of ending, with Moran and Huis coming into the pit lane together. However, Moran's pit stop location put the ATR driver at a slight disadvantage, and Huis made it out of the pit lane first, feeding right in behind Dennis Hurl. Moran just beat Puumalainen into 3rd place, with de Matos, Van Dorn and Duivelaar immediately behind. On lap 21, it all started to go wrong for Moran. After challenging Hurl into Les Combes, the ATR driver span across the grass and dropped back into 7th place. Several laps later, another spin at the exact same corner after contact with Van Dorn dropped him further down the order. Struggling to recover, Moran attempted an outside pass around Blanchimont on Stéphane Royal, but the too fast for you driver didn't see the Frenchman and pushed him onto the grass. Morin span helplessly into the barriers, damaging his car, which would ultimately see him retire. After briefly challenging for the lead position, Dennis Hurl eventually lofts the top spot back to Bono Huis, and the Dutchman eventually pulled out a gap over second place. Mikko Puumalainen remained in third, Dimitri de Matos in fourth, and Jarkko Mykkänen was now in fifth place after his late pit stop, slowly catching up to de Matos. Peter de Wit was up into sixth place, just ahead of Stoffel Vandoorne and Stefan Rouault. However, Vandoorne's debut suffered another blow when he lost control out of turn 14, and the Scuderia Milano drivers span into the Armco, forcing an unscheduled pit stop. While Mykkänen had no problem catching up to de Matos in fourth, he struggled to get past the Twister racing car, which was carrying significantly more speed down the straights. Mykkänen did manage to get ahead at one point, but not surprisingly, de Matos simply drafted past the Precision driver down the Kemmel straight to retake his position. But on the final lap, Mykkänen broke desperately late into the bus stop chicane, and with de Matos alongside, there was plenty of tyre rubbing, though Mykkänen ultimately won out. Taking his 20th career victory, Bono Huis won an eventful Belgian Grand Prix. The Dutch teenager shows no signs of slowing down, despite already securing the 2011 championship. Dennis Hurl crossed the line in second, taking his first podium of the season, and Mikko Puumalainen rounded out the top three with yet another strong result. Mykkänen finished in fourth, just ahead of de Matos in fifth, and Peter de Wit achieved a great result for the Next Rex team in sixth. Stefan Rouault held off Lee Morris for seventh, and Jim Paresis crossed the line in ninth place. Stoffel Vandoorne was later omitted from the results after failing to comply with post-race procedure, which moved Blair Disley up into the points and Reino Room into 12th. In the championship, Mikko Puumalainen and Jarkko Mykkänen are now equal on points in the battle for second place, with the Twister duo of Nilsson and Kirchhoff slowly falling behind. Disley remains in 7th, and Hurl has moved up another place into 8th. Saxon has held on to 9th despite not competing in this round, and Lee Morris remains in 10th. Precision Motorsports have now secured the 2011 Constructors' Championship with 4 rounds still remaining. Twister Racing are now under serious threat from McCaw, with both of the McCaw drivers finishing on the podium today. Too Fast For You are holding on to 4th place with ATR Silverline behind in 5th. De Wit's result has given NetRex Grand Prix some valuable points, and other teams remain in their respective positions. The next round will be the Italian Grand Prix, and you can watch that race live as it happens. Simply go to psrtv.com on the 18th of September at 5:30 PM GMT. We hope you've enjoyed today's highlights. I'm Jack Nichols, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for round 13 of the 2011 Formula SimRacing World Championship.